St Helens Star newspaper, proud to be associated with Northwest Video and Farewell Knowsley Road DVD. Northwest Video, keeping the community in the picture.
We've had the best team in Super League, and we've had one of the worst grounds now. Can't go on.
It's a sad event, but it's a necessary event.
Can't wait to see the new stadium.
It will be a sad occasion, I think.
In effect, they banned me from Knowsley Road.
I've got a lot to thank St Helens for.
Will be sad to see Knowsley Road go.
St Helens was always the best. And
I think it's important that we fully involve the fans when we say farewell to the ground.
Right, the people on the left-hand side here, please just move in slightly just so you're on this line.
St Helens Rugby League Football Club, Saints, have opened the turnstiles to fans. The event is to provide an opportunity to have a photograph with Saints players at the 120-year-old ground. Today is just one of a series of events being staged by the club during the countdown to the closure of the world-famous club's headquarters, Knowsley Road, as it comes to the end of its useful life.
Been great, yeah. Brought my grandson with me, 7 weeks old, in his kit. Hopefully one day people will be coming to have his picture taken with him.
He's quite small, isn't he?
Work has already begun to construct a brand new facility which will provide all that's necessary to enable the club to compete financially both on and off the field in the modern game of Super League. Unfortunately, the new stadium will not be completed until 2012, putting the Saints out in the wilderness for a season. From the middle of October 2010, all activities will have ceased at Knowsley Road. The Saints will play their matches at Holton Stadium, the home of Widnes Vikings. Although the new ground is just across the town from the old, it will still be a wrench for many of Saints' diehards.
The only way forward really is to go modern and to move grounds. I think over the next few months it's going to be a really poignant time for us, and I think there's going to be a lot of tears shed, and a few people are going to be wandering around this place when the bulldozers move in, just to really see what you believe, if you know what I mean.
No, it's still common sense, Ron, says we've got to go, but the sad thing is, for the likes of me, this has been 50 years of my life, and it's going to be very, very hard to move. It really, really is. But and it's not the matches, it's the people that I've been with in the past.
Years ago, I went round the back of the Eddington. Unfortunately, it was exactly the same as when I first came, 1955. And after that, I thought, absolutely no way can we carry on with the 20th century, 21st century, with facilities like that for such a top club. Yeah, I've been very fortunate, and I've been coming here for over 50 years now. And to go into a brand new stadium, we were the best stadium for a long time, and in a matter of a few years, we went from the best to the worst. With a team like we've got, we should be back at the best.
These things don't happen overnight. There's a lot of planning that goes on in the background in terms of who's going to build the stadium, how long we're going to be in there for. All the senior people at the club have been in talks with the lawyers and the landowners to get us to this point, and it's a great testament to them that we are here where we are today. And it's just, you can't share those things until everything is definite. But as of today, everything is definite.
Whatever the emotion felt by fans, Saints must march on, as their illustrious time at Knowsley Road is finally coming to an end. There have been many changes to ground improvements over the past century, with the exception of one most significant feature.
The one constant for the Knowsley Road ground is undoubtedly the pitch. The pitch was here from the very beginning. Obviously, it's not quite as it wasn't quite as clipped and manicured as it is now. But in 1890, when the club moved to this particular site, that's all there was, a field, and they had to rope it to keep the crowds at bay, but totally different from the stadium of today. We're looking here, of course, towards the main stand at Knowsley Road. This part of the ground has had a very checkered history. The first recorded stand of such was built in the early 1890s. The club then built a more modern structure in 1914, but they ran out of money. They wanted to build offices, they wanted to build changing facilities, but they ran out of money. The outbreak of the First World War was another factor that went against them. One of the most important aspects of the development of the Knowsley Road ground occurred in 1920, when the building behind me, the pavilion, was completed. This was quite revolutionary for Knowsley Road because it had changing facilities, it had offices, and for the players, a gymnasium.
One of the most memorable occasions in the history of the Knowsley Road Club was during the Christmastide events of 1920, when over 41,000 spectators crammed into the ground to watch local rivals Rex, the Pilkington Works team and Wigan. Although Saints couldn't give supporters a win, the club's coffers were boosted with record receipts of £2,250 from the two games. The bigger of the two was against Wigan, when 24,000 fans saw Lord Derby declare open the newly added pavilion at the ground.
Before 1920, this was the place where both teams would get changed. It used to be called the Talbot Hotel, now the Sportsman's, and it's in Duke Street. There were two large baths here that both teams would take advantage of, and they would be taken to Knowsley Road by horse-drawn wagonette. The Talbot Hotel still has links with the Knowsley Road Club, and as you can see, Kieran Cunningham is resplendent on the front wall of the pub itself. Dougie Greenall was also a former landlord of the Talbot Hotel. The first covered enclosure on the popular side was built in 1926, and it was built because of a fellow called Jesse Skepper, who had formed the supporters club in the early 1920s, and the money he raised was used to build the first stand. It was very much a ramshackle affair. It was made of wood, not much metal in it, and that survived until the late 1950s.
On February the 14th, 1930, Saints beat St Helens Rex in the only Challenge Cup tie at Knowsley Road between the two great rivals. Rex defeat saw Saints, who are now one of the best sides in the league, go on to face underdogs Widnes in the 1930 Challenge Cup final at Wembley, a landmark achievement for the club. Saints captain George Lewis led his team onto the pitch alongside Widnes's Paddy Douglas. There was a deafening roar from the crowd as they greeted the players onto the field.
St Helens are playing in blue, Widnes in black and white.
Fans back home were invited to Knowsley Road, where they'd be treated to a cup final broadcast from the apparatus and loudspeakers attached to the pavilion. This new arrangement was to avoid congestion at Victoria Square, where fans had previously gathered. Newspaper reports said that the 36,000 fans who witnessed the 3-10 defeat had not seen the real Saints. The team had been busy sightseeing around London, enjoying a tour of the Houses of Parliament by St Helens MP, the Right Honourable Mr Tinker. Preparation arguably could have been better. Poorer gates by September 1933 were now leading the club into financial crisis. Saints bosses began selling off their top stars, such as Jack Arkwright to Warrington, and the great Alf Ellerby to deadly rivals Wigan, taking a cut in wages to join the Riversiders. Appeals went unanswered. Newspapers carried the headline on May the 4th, 1934, that Saints were about to pass out of existence unless immediate support was forthcoming. Prospects were grim. St Helens struggled without the big names. By 1936, gates were averaging 2,000. After a failed bid to float St Helens Rugby Club back in October 1923, it was decided to try again. The new flotation would require a minimum of £4,000 for it to be a success, offering shares at 10 shillings each. Saints played their first game as a limited liability company on the 28th of August 1937, beating local rivals Widnes 11 points to 7. Towards the end of the 1930s, interest in rugby league in St Helens was at an all-time low. Saints were once again in debt, and neighbours Rex were so seriously affected by their deficit they had to close down. The intervention of the Second World War, which began on Sunday the 3rd of September 1939, had a serious effect on rugby league and sport in general. Wartime restrictions meant that all competitive football was banned. With the Rex now gone after 20 years as a professional club, the Saints were at least still alive, but there were much bigger battles on the horizon. The Knowsley Road headquarters became a Home Office-approved first aid and air raid warden's post, and to protect the new facility, a trench was dug across the club's car park.
I don't remember much about during the war. I was only a kid of 7 then, but I remember when I used to come here and get in the pen, sneak out the pen, and I used to listen to the old fellas talking. You got very few women here in them days, not like it is now. Well, half the fans are women. Them days there wasn't. And I always remember the old, what I used to call old codgers then, which they probably were then. They used to always talk about, wait till Jimmy Stock comes back. And as a kid I used to think, when Jimmy Stock comes back out the army, nobody will beat us. Of course, that was fairy tale dreams, that. But wooden fencing around the field, I remember that. The old scoreboard where they used to hang plates on. And little did I know that years later, I'd be in the new scoreboard which I operated for 27 seasons. I did that. But the changes that I've seen, it's unbelievable, really. I mean, where the restaurant, not the restaurant, the boxes are, all that was the old air raid sheds that used to be around the streets in here, the brick ones, they were all put there as when the terracing was, when it all put the concrete steps in. It used to just be shale until then, but it's sad today. But this is now, for me, it is the closing of Knowsley Road, this.
One of the most important things the St Helens Club did after the Second World War was to enclose the playing area with a concrete fence, which is still here today. They also levelled the playing pitch, and this was the first real important phase of ground redevelopment at Knowsley Road. And one of the features were these dugouts for the local constabulary to keep order both on and off the pitch.
By 1947, the misery of the war years was beginning to fade, and Saints' popularity was booming. Gates were averaging 14,000, and a record 28,000 crowd on Boxing Day against Wigan meant that the additional revenue would help speed up their team building. This game, filmed from the main stand, shows that there was no cover or shelter at the Eccleston end of the ground. It was just a banking, with the Eddington end still to be built. Boxing Day 1949, Knowsley Road's record crowd of 35,659 saw Wigan the opponents. Saints won 15-8. The massive crowds that day enjoyed every moment, but the excitement proved too much for some. If the club were to continue to keep the big crowds flocking to the terraces, they'd need to build a side that could win major honours, and so the board embarked on a spending spree. They went to Wales to sign winger Steve Llewellyn. Another Welsh signing was second rower George Parsons. The big crowd puller was to be found in Great Britain international winger Stan McCormick, who made his debut on the 22nd of January 1949 at Hunslet, scoring 2 tries, helping Saints to an 11-5 victory. Stan was worth every penny of his £4,000 world record transfer fee. The club's post-war financial good fortune continued into the 1950s, allowing ground development to gather momentum. Structural engineer Clive Robinson recalls his days as a 16-year-old apprentice at Todd Brothers Steel of St Helens.
During the development of the ground, for instance, the barriers. In those days there was no standards or green books to work to, and I remember being an apprentice when we had a whole pile of lads pushing against a mock-up in the workshops in St Helens to identify what size of steel we'd need for a crowd. But having said that, crowds were crowds. I mean, there were 32,000 on here against Wigan one Boxing Day, and we were on the pitch around it. But times have changed, and of course after the disasters with Hillsborough, Bradford Heysel. All sports grounds now are controlled by the Green Book. The Green Book controls how you will design the spectator accommodation, the slope of the terracing, the condition of the terracing, the turnstiles, the emergency exits, the condition of the terracing, all of factors which are taken into account. And this originally was limited to 15,200, I think, before we put in additional barriers on the Eddington. And the licensed amount now is 17,200.
The Eddington end is a typical cop. It was used as part of the George Best story in 2000. They were looking for a huge banking behind a goal, and of course this was chosen. And you could say quite rightly that the Eddington end at Knowsley Road became, just for a time, the Stretford end of Manchester United.
Although the Saints enjoyed big gates at Knowsley Road, it was the supporters' club who chiefly put up the finance for the structure at the Eccleston end that was renamed the George Eddington Stand after the late chairman of the supporters' club. At an eventual cost of £4,000, the new enclosure made provision for 8,000 spectators. But strengthening the team was important too. There were more signings in the early 50s. These included a major coup for the Saints as Chairman Harry Cook brought in one of the best coaches in the game from our deadliest rivals.
I suggested we need somebody to lead them who got a record in rugby league, and I said the man in trouble at Wigan at present is Sully. He wants better financial arrangement. And they said, well, do you want to get? I said, we want to get him. So they said, well, you go and get him. I said, there's only one condition I'll do that on, and that is if I don't tell anybody how it's going on. Because there's 12 directors, I mean, one wants to get in the pub and they talk, you know, everything is known. Had his signature and everything under the bed for a fortnight before I disclosed it. And he was one of the reasons why we did so well. They obeyed his rules and his orders. Plus, others did it as well, and other coaches did the same.
I started off with a great coach. Jim Sullivan was the best coach that's ever been. He's a magnificent man. He knew everything about rugby league, what you had to do, pace, ability, and he was like having a personal trainer. He was like having another dad. When he had people like Vollenhoven and Corelius and Dick Huddett, Alan Prescott, Cliff Watson, John Mantle, Gail Coslet.
After a 31-year relationship with Wigan, Jim Sullivan became full-time coach to Saints on the 28th of June 1952. He was to turn around the playing success for Saints. The 1952-53 campaign saw Saints beating Halifax at Main Road, Manchester, in front of a 50,000-strong crowd. They were runners-up in the Lancashire Cup, and although being finalists at Wembley in the Challenge Cup, they lost to Huddersfield 15-10. Saints, however, would enjoy sweet revenge against the Yorkshiremen a week later by beating them 46-0 in the Championship semi-final in front of a delirious home crowd of over 30,000 at Knowsley Road. On March the 24th, 1956, Bradford Northern's jinx over Saints in post-war Challenge Cup matches was something that coach Jim Sullivan was hoping to change.
1956, this ground here packed to the rafters. Saints are going to play Bradford Northern in the third round of the Challenge Cup, and the Bradford Northern side had, well, been a little bit of a bugbear against Saints in previous years in cup encounters, but not this day. Steve Llewellyn going down that popular side there, finishing right underneath the post in front of me. I was in the pen, and Frank Carlton down that best side doing exactly the same. And Saints were absolutely brilliant. Austin Rose tagging on the goals at regular intervals. I remember being in the pen watching Saints, and if memory serves me right, I think Frank Carlton, Steve Llewellyn, people like that
they certainly scored the tries. I can remember Austin Rhodes kicking the goals in this particular game. I can even remember, I'm sure there was a fight at the scrum and the forwards lifted Frank McCabe up while he got a better piece of the action, if you like, and so he could throw his punches. Frank McCabe, great hooker, but I just can't believe I'm watching this game. I would be in the pen, as I always was at that particular time. I just started watching the Saints, watching these players, Glyn Moses and Steve Llewellyn, Austin Rhodes, you name them, Vince Carré, the great Alan Prescott, and Jim Sullivan, the coach. This to me is just magic, watching the action. Frank Carlton, my hero, scoring a try, who lived across the way from me in a Sullivan Crescent. Just absolutely great moments, and a packed crowd. You could smell the atmosphere, and there's nothing better I loved than seeing Saints come out in that white shirt with the red band. In fact, nothing wrong with the red V, but I really did like the red band. But of course, if a team come to Knowsley Road, like similar colours, then you had to change. And on this occasion, and many occasions actually, Saints had to play in what they called it. Well, it was the second strip, like a pale blue shirt. And it was called Duck Egg Blue. It used to go in the pen, and I'll tell you for why I went in the pen. I wanted to get on the wall next to the tunnel so I could see Alan Prescott run out first with the ball, and then it would be the players like Frank Carlton and Steve Llewellyn, Bill Finnan, Austin Rhodes, Todd Dickinson, Nat Silcock, the great Vince Carré, you name it. They were my heroes. I needed to be on that wall, and I needed to be at the side of that tunnel so I could see these players and the excitement as it got to 5-3. Any time now, the March of the Gladiators, they would start to play, and you knew it was time, and the place was absolutely packed to the rafters. Open spaces, no big stands then as such, wooden stands, yeah, and the Eddington at the other end, but open-ended where I used to be in the pen, just a clubhouse, and you just waited. You waited for this game, for any game at Saints. You waited for it all week. And Friday night, excited, just wanted to get up Saturday morning, couldn't wait for about 12:30, and then go in to get the bus into town, and then walk from town to the ground and beyond the ground at 1 o'clock. In fact, I can remember getting on the ground and the police were still on, the constables as such, getting all their instructions as to where they must stand, where they must direct fans coming into the ground, etc. That's how early we used to be, but it didn't matter. I wanted to be there. I wanted to make sure I could stand where I wanted the best view of these players coming out of that tunnel. And of course, just to top it all off, they beat Bradford 53 points to 6. I can remember Bradford had a fullback called Joe Phillips, a New Zealander, and he went on to be chairman of the club. He kicked the 3 goals that enabled Bradford to score 3 points. But St Helens, the Saints, well, they were just scoring tries for fun. Steve Llewellyn, I can remember, my hero, Frank Carlton, going in for a try. I think Bill Finnan was another try scorer. Oh, it seemed as though they nearly all got on the try scoring sheet. And of course, Austin Rhodes, scrum half, 18 years of age, kicking the goals. Just magical times.
The Yorkshiremen were well and truly beaten on the day. 20-year-old flying winger Frank Carlton scored 4 tries. Bill Finnan and Frank McCabe scored 2, and Steve Llewellyn, Nat Silcock and Walter Delves also crossed the whitewash. Brilliant kicking from youngster Austin Rhodes with 10 goals saw the Saints romp home to a glorious victory, 53 points to 6. The new scoreboard, which had been installed at the corner of the popular side and pavilion ends, made it easy for the fans to keep abreast of their team's progress. The following month, Jim Sullivan's remodelled team had been underdogs to Halifax in the Challenge Cup final at Wembley on Saturday, April the 28th, 1956. However, the Saints won 13 points to 2 to bring the coveted trophy home to Knowsley Road for the first time. Richard David Speakman, a local filmmaker, was on hand at Knowsley Road to capture the photo shoot in front of the old pavilion. Coach Jim Sullivan and Dougie Greenall signed autographs for one lucky schoolboy. It was a very proud moment for Chairman Harry Cook, the board, and of course Sully and his winning team.
It's an incredible piece of film. It shows the celebration photograph for both players and directors after the 1956 Challenge Cup final. You can see Coach Jim Sullivan there with the Challenge Cup in front of him. Harry Cook's getting in on the act now, his turn for the photograph. And there's the directors in the background. And of course you can see Jim Sullivan still wanting to direct operations.
I think my first time of coming here, I'd been with my dad, brought me to for one night match, and I think they were just starting to build a new scoreboard which would be situated in that corner, playing Swinton on my dad's shoulders, and I can remember people like Peter Metcalfe and Gordon Ratcliffe. And then as I become more familiar with the ground, I'd come on my own, and invariably 1955, something like that, I'd be in the pen. But of course I paid sixpence a tanner, if you like, in old money, and then if it was a bad day, raining for example, I'd come up to the popular side, and I think it was ninepence, and they had an old stand just over there in the middle, underneath the gantry. And if memory serves me right, I think you paid threepence to get into that stand. But 1956, the first Challenge Cup tie I think I saw on this ground, they were to play Warrington, Brian Bevan, Jerry Elman company, and a Friday night before, terrific frost around, so there was big doubts as to whether the game would go ahead, you see. So they had braziers all over the pitch, and thankfully the game went ahead. Frank Carlton scored in that far corner. I can remember chasing a little kick where he run round Bevan and touched the ball down, and Saints won 15-6. And of course at that time there was an old stand over there which was replaced by the present one, I think about 1958, which of course is there now. But that was a little wooden stand. And somewhere back in my mind, I think Liverpool City finished up with that old wooden stand for their place at Knotty Ash.
We are stood on a car park that used to be a railway cutting for the Eccleston branch line. What this meant for the design of the new stand in the late 50s was that it became overhung, as you can see.
As far as the best side stand is concerned, the geometry of it and the overhang at the back was controlled by the old railway line, which used to run from here over to Gillar's Green Colliery and Ashdowns. There were limitations as to how close you could go to the cutting at the back, and that obviously influenced its design completely. We're not quite sure why it finished at the end here. Obviously at the time they ran out of funds, but that was part of the business plan and not part of the engineering.
But then, of course, a couple of years later, 1957, I'm here with another 20,000, whatever the attendance was, something like that, I would guess. And this man called Tom van Vollenhoven from South Africa was to make his debut. And I remember, he wasn't, by his own admission, having the best of games, but suddenly he got the ball some 40 metres out. I think it was Ray Price that threw in the pass, and he comes scorching down this side here, scored the try, and I think everyone knew he was somebody special.
In May 1959, Knowsley Road welcomed visitors of a different kind, a team who'd thrilled audiences worldwide, the Harlem Globetrotters. The supporters' stand, seen here in the background, was the first covered enclosure on the popular side. It was built in 1926 as a result of money raised by Jesse Skepper, who had formed the Supporters Club several years before. Despite it being little more than a timber-framed ramshackle affair, it survived until the late 1950s.
The current stand that we can see behind was built in the early 60s, in 1961. And once again, it was designed locally by Clive Robinson, and it was built locally using Yearsley Brothers and Todd Brothers for the steel work. This really is the hub, the whole heartbeat of the ground, where most noise comes from, where the most fervent of our supporters undoubtedly stand.
The club had enlisted once again the trusted expertise of structural engineer Clive Robinson to come up with the design of the new popular side stand. This proved to be a relatively simple structure to design, with its umbrella-shaped roof and big lattice girders. The stand has 3 spans and was built in phases, with the first third completed by December 1960. The cover would eventually stretch the whole length of the ground and become the platform for TV cameras.
We got 1990 it was built, this, for the centenary, Brian Pierce started it off, and he built one out of scaffolding, planks. We was on there, it was called the scaff. All these lads underneath us, lads and lasses, underneath the gantry, they called it the scaff. It was a meeting place and everything. Up the ladder, they'd pinch your ladder, you know, and you'd be, great stuff. I've enjoyed it. I mean, 1986 I started doing this, and it's been great. I hope I carry on for a few more years. Never know, I might get the boot.
So let's rewind back to 1961 for the final score in the Challenge Cup final against Wigan.
St Helens were in command now, and they made it 12-4 when Rhodes kicked yet another penalty. Wigan, true to their great record, fought right to the end. A final penalty by Griffiths made it 6-12, but the cut was St Helens.
Saint scrum half that day was Will Smith, and he remembers when the team showed the cup at Knowsley Road. The club just literally opened the ground for it. Everyone wanted to see the players with that famous trophy. Nothing changes in that respect, does it?
That's us arriving. Well, we picked a coach up and travelled past the golf club. That's where we come on to our customer, that's right. And that it was packed. And onto Dunraden Lane and down. And same as I say, down to the ground level. I think it was arranged because there was that many people had missed out when we come home. It was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. That's Freddie Helens. He was on the sheet at Wembley. He was a reserve forward, reserve prop forward. I think he played in a couple of rounds of the cup that year. Cliff Watson only got in the semi-final team. Jimmy Measures had played up to them, and he dropped Jimmy Measures and fetched Cliff Watson. Well, it was wonderful because the forwards all stuck together and the backs all stuck together. So it was good comradeship, you know what I mean? All through it, like. A lot of smokers in that team. There was a lot of non-smokers though, but there was no angel. One of the angels was off the cup. Somebody pinned one of the angels.
Crowds flocked to Knowsley Road during the early 60s, with the team competing for honours and individuals like Tommy Voll blazing a try-scoring trail, even surpassing the great Alf Ellaby's achievements. Peter Harvey joined the Saints in 1963, becoming one of several high-profile signings from the Rugby Union Code.
The home dressing room. Home. This was my home for a few years in the 1960s. 1963 through to 1967, this old changing room. Such memories of it. Some of it's changed, some of it's the same. There used to be a window on that wall over there. Cal Coslet always sat on that window ledge. And this mirror was not quite this size, it was a bit smaller than this. But the mirror was important because one of the things about the Saints was that you were always smart, your kit was always clean. The ladies always made certain that everything was pristine. And so we would stand in front of the mirror, even on days when it rained, and comb your hair and lift your collar up and say, look good, play well. This is where I used to change, on this side. And on the wall here, I brought my blazer, the one that we got when we first came to Saints. You had to earn your blazer. They didn't give it to you. So I'm very proud of that blazer, and if you look at it, it's got the original Saints badge on it, which was the town badge. And here I brought with me today the first of the past players badges. St Helens past players, 31 years now of past players. We started with this little image with the ball going over, and then as a rebranding exercise we finished up with this one, which has got the stick man on it. You know, as I sit here, the memories come flooding back. Memories of the quiet before the storm, of that 2 minutes before you went out to play. when it was as quiet as it is now, even though there's a full team of people in the room, as they all gathered the thoughts about what was going to happen. You were going to go outside, it's gladiatorial, there's a fight on, you're up for it, you're thinking about who the opposition is, and suddenly there's a bang on the door, and it's up in arms, lads, and get out there and get through that tunnel and get on with the fight. It's not the same now, you know. When they go out before the game, half an hour before the game, they see the crowd, and it's not just warming up, it's getting used to the whole atmosphere. It's been, you know, part of the whole business of feeling the crowd. When we played, there was none of that. You came in this changing room, not more than 40 minutes before the game. Some of us only half an hour before the game. And in that half an hour, you got yourself ready, you got to rub down over there in that corner. You came in, you had a laugh with your mates, and then there was that quiet, that bit that I've just described.
Another great landmark for Knowsley Road was the installation of the floodlights in 1965.
The first thoughts about installing floodlights at the ground were back in 1963. Members of the board visited Southport Football Club's installation at their ground at Hague Avenue, which had cost around £6,000. The cost of the installation at Knowsley Road was in excess of £11,000, £6,000 of which was loaned to the club from Greenall Whitley & Co. It proved to be a tremendous success. There were more on-field triumphs too. The win against Wigan in the Challenge Cup final at Wembley on the 21st of May 1966 brought thousands of speckies and well-wishers out onto the streets to welcome the victors home. Lance Todd winner Len Killeen had helped his team to a 21-2 victory, scoring 1 try and kicking 5 goals. The following week, Saints met Halifax in the Championship final at Swinton's Station Road ground. The smiling Saints didn't mind one bit chatting with fans in the afternoon sunshine and signing autographs. Their 35-12 points victory seemed to put a smile on the face of every St Helens supporter. It was the 4th trophy won during the season. By January 1968, the playing surface at the Knowsley Road ground was in such a poor condition, inadequate drainage facilities caused the pitch to remain waterlogged. Unless the board took action, it was certain to lead to cancellation of matches. The first casualty came as a game against Swinton was postponed. The services of Liverpool firm Ward, Ashcroft and Parkman were sought. The works included adjustments to the drainage system and replacing the turf, which came from Grange Park Golf Club, 10,164 square yards in total. With 392 tries in 408 appearances, Tom van Vollenhoven is without doubt Saints' greatest winger, famed for so many tries, not least the 1959 Championship final at Odsal Stadium, Bradford, where he notched up a hat-trick. He almost made it 4, but missed out when he lost his footing. Alan Rooney caught up with Vol during the farewell festival.
Tom, good to see you. And what an event. Did we ever think we'd see a marquee on this famous old ground where you scored so many great tries? Lovely feeling for you.
Alan, it's great to be sad, you know, so much history here. So many tries has been scored in this pitch, so many good players has played here. It's actually sad to see it go, but no, it's progress. You must move with the times.
Tommy recalled his rugby union days before signing for Saints.
I didn't know rugby league really. I saw half a game when I toured Australia, but I can't say I understood it then. And you know, they threw me into the deep end, and I was 1 week here, and I had to play my first game.
That first game saw supporters take Tom van Vollenhoven to their hearts, and in a Knowsley Road career spanning 10 glorious years, he became Saints' record try-scorer.
By the 1970s, the club went in a completely different direction. They built a cabaret lounge and a restaurant on the pavilion end. And this had famous cabaret stars of the day like the Dallas Boys and Kathy Kirby and Bob Monkhouse. And fans could actually watch the game and have a meal at the same time, so quite revolutionary at the time.
The building project included an extension to the existing social club lounge, with a restaurant overlooking the pitch. Planning permission granted on February the 5th, 1972, meant that Foster Buildings of Rainford could commence the work soon after. New offices and a club shop were also added. The new social club provision, a member-only affair, was officially opened by the Right Honourable Lord Pilkington on March the 31st, 1973. And despite the annual cost of membership, £50 per couple or £30 for single membership, the new club regularly posted house full notices. By the mid-70s, the Saints had become an ageing squad, with many players now in their 30s, including John Mantle and Kel Coslet, aged 34. Dubbed Dad's Army by the critics, they went to do battle at Wembley against Widnes on May the 8th, 1976. It turned out to be not about age, but about experience, with Saints victorious, winning 20 points to 5.
And once again at Wembley, it's the Saints who go marching in.
The homecoming aboard the red and white open-topped Corporation bus was witnessed by thousands of Saints fans who turned out in their colours to cheer their champions home. Saints went on to do the Cup double, beating Salford 15-2 on May the 22nd in the Premiership final. This was to be the last season at Knowsley Road for Kel Coslet, Jeff Heaton and John Mantle as they moved to pastures new. Sponsorship became a vital part of the Knowsley Road scene by 1984 as business sponsors, match sponsors and the newly formed vice presidents gave much needed financial support. With the added income of £90,924 from the takeover of the Knowsley Bar and Restaurant Complex by McEwen Youngers, Saints' loss became a profit. St Helens Glass were the first organisation to have their company name on the Saints' jerseys. Profit would allow investment on the field. With a price tag of £30,000, Saints bosses signed Mal Meninga from Australian club Brisbane Souths on the 26th of June 1984. During the 84-85 season, the Meninga effect at Knowsley Road doubled the crowds. Local lads like Harry Pinner, Barry Ledger, Steve Peters, Neil Holding, Chris Arkwright, Roy Haggerty and Paul Forber, together with another Australian signing, Phil Vivers, helped the club to finish off the season by beating Hull KR 36-16 at Ellen Road, Leeds in the Premiership final.
Well taken. Magnificent eye for the ball, this lad. Tremendous judgment at setting a high ball.
After just one season, Mal Meninga would return to Australia. It was also the last game of rugby league for referee Stan Wall, who retired at 50.
Stan Wall, obviously enjoying his last match of rugby league. Well, that's a bad slip. You must find touch from a penalty.
Loose forward Harry Pinner won the Harry Sunderland Trophy for his stunning performance in his 300th Saints match.
Oh, brilliant ball by Clark, out to Halliwell. How we got that ball out, I do not know. But you'll have no mistake with Halliwell in the clear and from a defence position on their own line to a try right under Carlisle's sticks.
Records tumbled on the 14th of September 1986 in a match against Carlisle. Saints produced an amazing performance, notching up 112 points to 0 in the first round of the Lancashire Cup. Young centre Paul Loughlin shattered the individual club scoring record held by Peter Fearis since 1959, with 16 goals and 2 tries for a massive 40-point haul, the best individual feat by any Saints player. The game, dubbed Slaughter in the Sun, was also a club record score. The old rotating numbers on the scoreboard only went up to 99, and so the final score was improvised in the window below. It was the second season in charge for the returning Alex Murphy. It's 2 decades since Alex, nicknamed the Messiah, was last at Knowsley Road.
Records gone, no end.
By the early 1990s, Knowsley Road was considered to be one of the best grounds in the whole of the Rugby League. And the final piece of the jigsaw was the construction of these executive boxes that you can see behind me. This was it, Knowsley Road in its pomp.
Good afternoon, a warm welcome to Knowsley Road for the first round of the Lancashire Cup. There's the match day official today, the referee Alex Bowman from Whitehaven. Captain for Runcorn, Tommy Rawlinson, captain for St Shane Cooper. Match day mascot there, Stephen Ratcliffe, centre field.
The 9 executive boxes built behind the terraces on the Dun Riding Lane end in 1989 would tap into an increasingly important corporate market. There would be just one more feature.
First half, the new electric scoreboard in operation today at Knowsley Road for the first time.
Club chairman Eric Latham mirrored the enthusiasm of the early 1990s. We have the best ground in Rugby League, we have the best complex in Rugby League, we have the best setup in Rugby League, we have the best fans in Rugby League, and I hope in the not-too-distant future, we'll have the best team in Rugby League.
There can be no doubt that Knowsley Road is one of the most atmospheric grounds to watch club Rugby League. Yet in terms of international matches, because of the lack of seats, the ground has never really hosted a top international like Great Britain or England against Australia. Furthermore, 3 World Club Challenge matches have had to be switched to the JJB in Wigan and the Reebok Stadium in Bolton, which didn't really go down well with Saints fans.
St Helens celebrated 100 years of sporting history at Knowsley Road on Sunday the 7th of October 1990. It was a real gala occasion, as some of the club's greatest ever players appeared on the sacred turf once more. Unfortunately, the crowd of over 15,000 were disappointed with the result of the game against the Australians, which saw Saints defeated by 34-4. The last ever Lancashire Cup final was played at Knowsley Road 2 years later. Saints lost narrowly to arch-rivals Wigan by just 1 point, with a scoreline of 4-5. Major changes were afoot by the mid-90s. Summer rugby, a chief executive, ground improvements and more money for the game, thanks to Rupert Murdoch's Sky Channel. The newly appointed chief executive had plans for Knowsley Road.
The need to upgrade the game and complete at national and international level is now part and parcel of the fabric of rugby league football.
Basically, I'll be looking after the whole of the club, but particularly my priorities to start with will be redeveloping the ground here at Knowsley Road. I feel very strongly that St Helens should be part of the local community in everything it does, and I'd like to think that Knowsley Road will, in the very near future, offer facilities both on a match day, but particularly during the week, 7 days a week, for the local community here in not only St Helens but Merseyside as a whole.
Saints began team building in preparation for the Super League and to strengthen the squad in the race for honours. They also launched the new centenary strip, which Alex Murphy was on hand to promote.
I've got a great job here.
Dean Busby signed from Hull on the 3rd of September 1995, and just 4 days later, Carl Hammond joined the ranks from Widnes. Saints, however, smashed the world record transfer fee on November the 29th, when they paid Bradford Northern £250,000 cash for one of the game's big-name stars in a deal brokered by David Howes. It was, however, tinged with sadness, as it involved the loss of 3 of Saints' best-loved players.
Obviously, it was a major decision. Our ambitions were to bring a world-class player of the calibre of Paul Newlove here, but we have had a heart-rendering couple of days saying farewell to 3 players who have been very much part of the Knowsley Road family. 2 of whom, of course, have enjoyed benefits here, Paul Loughlin and Bernard Dwyer, and Sonny, who's thoroughly enjoyed his 4 years at Knowsley Road since joining us from Sheffield. So we would like to put on record our thanks for their services, and the fact that we've obviously had to come up with a player exchange deal, as Wigan may have done or Leeds will have done, to break the world record to secure Paul's services.
Paul Newlove has fond memories of his days and teammates at Saints.
I came to Knowsley Road with a lot of expectations, you know, being a big signing as well, and jumping out of the security van, that would just put more pressure on me to produce the goods. The tunnel were brilliant, you know, down at the bottom under the dressing rooms. It's a long tunnel and you can see the pitch in front of you, and when you got onto the field, the crowd, there's always been a fantastic crowd at St Helens. It was a pleasure to play in front of them, home and away. They just did us proud.
It was a pleasure too for the crowd as Paul made his debut against Workington Town on the 3rd of December 1995, proving to be an instant success and wowing the crowd with a try. The Saints went on to win 58-10 and eventually went on to win the first ever Super League trophy.
The very same Nicola Ascain who won the St Helens Star competition for this, the centenary strip, that's stepping on stage now to present Nicola with her prize, is the one, the only Saints' new captain, King Bobby Goulding! There we are.
Bobby Goulding was made captain at the start of the 95-96 centenary season. He remembers his time at the St Helens club with great affection.
When I signed for St Helens, you know, I love my witness boy. I thought this was going to be my home, and I'd really settled down here, which I did for 4 years. My first game wasn't great. We got beat by Doncaster, and then we went to Warrington and got beat. Then the week after we went up to Halifax and everything turned around, and I think I scored 2 tries, I kicked 9 goals, and you know, people really took me to the heart, and that's the one thing that I did have with the Saints fans. They knew I was the same as them, and they really wanted the club to do well, and I think that's why we created a big bond, me and the Saints spectators, and it'll always live in my heart. To be truthful, at the time I thought I was the only person who used to go out to hospitals and that, because it was every single day. Hospitals, schools, functions in the town. You didn't get anything extra. It was the club who benefited from it, you know, from giving one of the players out. But I didn't mind that at all. I was always last out here on the field after every single game, win or lose. I was always last out signing autographs. I used to go up to my wife an hour and a half, 2 hours after the game, and she'd be saying, "Where have you been? Where have you been?" And you know, at the end of the day, I had a great relationship with the Saints spectators. I still see some of them now, and you know, they remind me of the days when, you know, when it was special. It was real good, and you know, I left a legacy here with the team that I played with. You know, that it was the start of what they've done over the last 10-12 years.
Off the field, there have been few major changes to the ground or its facilities over the past 15 years, apart from new dressing rooms and a referee's room under the main stand. This was a far cry from the facilities at the old pavilion.
One big bath, communal, both sides, all in together, lads, and after the game, that's the way it was. 26 of us, both sides. They'd come in the door over there, we'd come in the door there. Bath was about a foot deep in water, and everybody would be in it, and even after the roughest game, you find everybody was friends and they'd wash your back for each other. Part of that team building that we'd had before. Not quite every game. Perhaps if the game had been really rough, or perhaps if a couple had been sent off, there was real argument in the bath. I never saw a fight, but some people say actually fighting went on in the bath. But I don't remember that. I remember the bath being a huge communal after the match, before the pint, joviality. The game was over, let's go and enjoy ourselves.
The club was certainly moving with the times. One major change was the rebranding of the ground on May the 6th, 2008, in a sponsorship deal with GPW Recruitment. The GPW Recruitment Stadium became the new name of the ground until its closure in 2010. But there was still much to do before the 2011 season. In advance of the move to the Halton Stadium, stewards are being considered for the relocation.
When we move to Widnes, we're going to have to take something in the region of 40 stewards with us, because Widnes don't have sufficient stewarding personnel. So we're asking our current stewards, are they interested in going to Widnes next season to work there?
Welcome to the GPW Recruitment Stadium for this special night tonight, as we mark 120 years of top rugby league here on this famous
Before
ground.
tonight's kick-off, fans are being treated to a host of rugby league greats who've worn the red V on this pitch. Back together for one night only, parading around the pitch.
Now the players from the 50s are making the way round. Glyn Moses, Johnny Dickinson, Austin Rhodes, Brian McGinn, Will Smith, Ab Terry. From the 60s, we've got Frankie Barrow, Peter Harvey, Tony Barrow, Kel Coslet, Bobby Blackwood. The 70s,
Yes, good memories. I always had good memories of this pitch. Always. Lovely 12 years here. And it brings back a lot of memories coming on here now. Oh, yes, yes.
Get all that, so.
Go.
Bloody brilliant. It's absolutely marvellous. Marvellous.
Happy days, isn't it? More so that time than here. Watch yourself.
Yeah, it's lovely to see the crowd again. It's nice. Lovely occasion.
Right in number 28, Ben Cocaine. Number 9, Scott Morrell.
Right, fellas, this way for us, please. And again. This way, fellas. Any blues going in?
Yeah, brilliant memories. Really good memories here. Fantastic. Yeah, very good. Yeah, made up. It gives you goosebumps. Fantastic. Oh yeah, Tommy Martin when I was a kid, when I was growing up. He was my hero. Tommy Martin when I was a kid.
Right, lads, could we have the 1950s first? Not in 1950s. Or even 60s as well, come on. Come on, lads, bit of order. 50s and 60s.
Tremendous occasion. This is what it's all about, really, and it's so nice to see so many old faces, and it's a great occasion. Great occasion. The Last Supper, yes, and like others, hopefully, it'll be an enjoyable one.
Neil, come on. No wrong with you, come on. When we come to take the picture, just, squat down if you can. Right? Phil's all right, he can play.
Well, there's no good knees amongst the squad, I can tell you that.
Not yet. You're not
Not
there.
What
Are we down now? Are we down? Harry, get down up front. Get me, Tommy.
Is that a close-up or what?
Harry, tell me. Are your knees going to hold up for this photocall?
Just about.
Are we right, Colin?
The past players' gathering will be the last here at Knowsley Road. The association was formed in 1979 and has always enjoyed great support. Today, it has that extra special feel to it.
It is quite a significant occasion, and it's significant. There's a very good turnout from all different generations and ages, right back to the early 50s, even to the present day. So a very, very good support, quite a nostalgic day. It's a sad event, but it's a necessary event. I think even the most traditional and loyal of players realise that the ground has had its day. It served its purpose. It can't serve its purpose anymore. It might be able to do on the pitch, but off the pitch, it just it can't come to terms with what's needed now in modern day sport. So we wave it goodbye and hopefully move on to a new stadium for another 100 years.
A poignant act of remembrance takes place before dinner is served.
But as this is our last dinner at Knowsley Road, it is perhaps right to remember all our members who have passed away over the 31 years of our association. And many of you here today will have your own memories of those 97 former players. So let's spend a few moments in silence before grace. Thanks.
Players, past and present, have terrific memories of their time at Knowsley Road. Kieran Cunningham remembers his feelings coming out of the old tunnel for the first time.
I remember when I was a kid and I signed for the club and played in my first academy year, and you know, for me it's a rough old thing now, you know, you look down it, but there's nothing better. I mean, it was, you know, it's different now on the other side. It's all open as you come out and you can see everything, but for that, you know, I used to start and it's only 10 or 15 metres walk, you know, but you could hear the crowd building as the new year was coming down, and you could hear the crowd erupt as you come out the tunnel and ready to go. And there's nothing better. It's, you know, it's like Old Trafford or Wembley, you know, when you're walking down and the crowd erupts, there's no bigger feeling.
People talk about you're in the tunnel at Wembley and you walk out of the tunnel and you get this almighty roar. Well, it was very similar. You're a Saints, and in them days, it was winter as well, waiting at one end of the tunnel to go out through the other. When we'll say BBC Two floodlight games, it was very bitterly cold, very wet, and you had to wait for the referee's call in them days, and it could have been a bit cold. But once you got on the field, once you got through the tunnel, it was a tremendous feeling.
I remember going to Basel, and I said, Basel, I said, listen, I said, my mum and dad are coming, I said, to watch. I said, is there any chance of a couple of complimentary tickets? He said, complimentary tickets? I said, yeah. I said, who did he say they're for? I said, they're for Mum and Dad. He said, hell's bells, Ray, if your Mum and Dad won't pay, you can't expect anybody else to pay. And, you know, that was it, so I bought them 2 tickets, you know.
Magnificent memories. I mean, how time passes by. I signed here on my 16th birthday, midnight, and I don't know where it's gone, but I wouldn't have swapped it for all the money in the world. It's been absolutely... My life in rugby league, especially starting here, has been magnificent. You know, I can go on and on and on, and people keep saying to me, like, which is the best side you've ever played in? The best side I ever played in was the team that beat Wigan 21-2.
The final nail in Wigan's coffin was hammered home by the Saints captain, a drop goal from Alex Murphy. The Prime Minister presented the trophy.
It's lovely memories, and it's nice having memories. And don't forget this, St Helens supporters have got the privilege of taking lots of memories home with them. They're the greatest supporters, you know, the great supporters, because they've been standing on them terraces for 50, 60 years. They know everything. They're like clocks, they know everything. But just imagine what they can take from here to the new ground, which is going to be magnificent. All I would say to St Helens supporters, support the club, back the club. If you want to go into the future, go with them and bring some new kids up, which I think they will do.
We'll leave those good words with you, Alec. Hope they're taken on board, but thanks for the chat.
My pleasure, thank you.
I used to pay 9p go in the boys' pen, and then we used to sneak through the railings and go stand under the old scoreboards and watch them when Alex Murphy played. Brilliant. Legend.
Tears. Definitely tears.
I'm excited.
We'll be tears. We'll all be in tears. Well, I will anyway.
The last game, the league game here.
It's special.
Special. We've been following them for over 50 years, so...
Yeah, I think there'll be a few tears today. But excited as well about, you know, moving on. It's just sad, really, that we haven't got somewhere to go to straight away, really, but never mind.
I think it'd be very exciting, yeah. A lot of people here very interested, and I think they'll enjoy it. Yeah, I think so.
Oh, just hang on.
Whether we win or lose tonight, we will play at least one more game here, and I think that probably will help. Should we say, I'll stay behind. But it's possible, and we'll worry about that when the time comes. At the end of the day, there's a lot of passionate fans have been coming for a long while, and they're going to want to see their team, and they want to see the stadium for the last time, and I feel that way myself, really, if truth's known.
And a lot of fans here for last league game tonight. Is that going to be tears, do you think?
If not tonight, it will be when we play the last. But I think really with this being the last official game, you know, so you can't say anything. Cut it here, these bloody clowns here.
There's only one Dave Jolly. Dave Jolly.
It's Saturday the 4th of September. Tonight is the last league game at the famous old stadium, and it's a real mix of emotions for everyone connected with the St Helens club.
It's a little bit strange, to be honest with you. I mean, I've been at the club for about 4 years, and after being a fan from, you know, sort of yay high, and it came with my dad, and I didn't think I'd be as emotional as I was, really. It's been a lot of work building up to the final game, and you don't realise how much work actually goes on behind the scenes to put on a game like this. And now, especially now we've just seen Kieran run out, it's getting a little bit, you know, feeling quite emotional. I just hope everybody has a good night, and you know, we take it from there. Yeah, I think so. I think John Edwards said tears and a few beers, and I think that's been the case for a few people.
Well, you're not going to believe this, but I'm probably the only guy here that's got no sentimental attachments to this place whatsoever. I'll be glad to see it go, and I'll be glad to move into the new stadium. It causes me that many problems, this place, keeping it going. I feel as though we're just throwing good money to bad money every week, just to keep the place open. So probably the only guy in St Helens that's glad to see it go. Sorry if I give you the wrong answer though.
Yeah, it's obviously it's a night that the old lady starts to see her demise, really, isn't it? You know, with only 2 more games possibly at the stadium, and this being the last ever league game, it's fond memories. You know, you think of yourself when you was a supporter, and you think of the great games we've had as staff, and it's sad, really.
Yeah, it's looking forward to it, Ron. You know, it's hopefully with a little bit of luck it'll be a win, and we'll finish second, get Waddington here, even better.
Nostalgia is thick in the air as Saints legends, coached by Alex Murphy and featuring Chris Arkwright, Chris Joynt and Paul Sculthorpe, narrowly lost to the club's academy team in the pre-match tag rugby game. Fittingly, the match ball was brought onto the pitch by another Knowsley Road legend, Kel Coslett, who, since heading north to St Helens in 1962, has served as player, captain, coach, football manager and honorary life president.
Last ever league game. Well, it's a memory for me because I started cutting my teeth on rugby league when I was 18 with the Liverpool Echo, and sat here with a black and white camera. That's going well back into the 70s, and I'm looking forward to moving to a new ground and starting all over again for the next 35 years.
Preparations to create a massive red V in the main stand had taken place earlier in the day, and is now revealed to equally massive applause from the fans. It was an emotional occasion as skipper Kieran Cunningham and his teammates appeared through the paper-covered tunnel entrance to a thunderous roar from the huge crowd. At half-time, there was a message from Saints cheerleaders, the Saintsations, after their usual display of dance and acrobatics.
Short kick-off. Gardner pouches
it though for Saints. They've got a minute left, Castleford.
What an amazing take by the winger, under so much pressure.
I bet they're all waiting at Wrexham for the news of this. I bet they're watching the screens everywhere in North Wales as Moore comes down the line. Great hands, Gidley. Gidley keeps on going, gets the ball away to Helens. He's fallen, but it is still on. Here is Graham. Have we got another wide to West moment coming up here?
They need a converted try, the Saints, to get the home tie next week.
Cunningham to Moore. Moore then to Pulatua. This is the fellow who could do it. Not this time though. 20 seconds and counting. Cunningham! Yes, he gets it!
You couldn't have scripted the story for the clash against the Tigers. Castleford, who were trailing 30-10 at one stage, drew level with just a few minutes to go. A try from Matt Gidley gave Saints the lead, and now this magnificent try from King Kieran made the score 40 points to 30 on the final hooter, ensuring a home playoff spot. It was 16 years ago this weekend since his first appearance here, and what a way to sign off in his last ever league game at Knowsley Road.
If he went anywhere near the line, they look dead and buried to the Saints, and they have come back, courtesy of one of the greatest players to put on the shirt, the famous Red Bean.
It's unbelievable. I don't know, I'm not crying yet.
I think the preference of us all would have been to stay at Knowsley Road. It's hallowed turf. It's what the club is associated with. But it was a commercial and financial impossibility to finance a redevelopment of the existing site. We looked at every way of doing so. Ultimately, the only way to do it was to move and to unlock the value of Knowsley Road in order to partly finance that. That said, in terms of the location, I would say the location of the new ground is better for all concerned in terms of accessibility. And I think the atmosphere within the new stadium is going to be terrific, the facility is going to be terrific. And once the decision was made, then everybody got behind it, particularly the fans who've seen other clubs with new stadia, know that it's a matter of necessity rather than choice. And I think the whole town and our fan base are very much positively behind this move. It's really the last of the old era, the old generation, where a ground is named after the street that it's on. That's commerce has dictated otherwise. With new stadia, naming rights and the likes, time moves on. That's a reflection of the professional game. But it's as I say, it's a place that's very close to our hearts. We're leaving it behind, but we definitely won't forget it. It's there for all to be remembered. We've done all we can to give it a great send-off, and we're doing all we can to retain its history and records of its history, and take those records with us to our new ground. Well, we can't take the pitch with us, but we can take our groundsman, and we can ensure. I mean, it's one of the great ironies again of modern sport that the more that's spent on stadia, the more high-tech it becomes, the worse the pitches are. You look at modern-day Wembley, and there's no better example than that. And you compare it to, our ground at Knowsley Road. The ground may be falling down, but it's a pleasure for every player to play on this ground, and you'll get no better piece of turf. And all we can do is aspire to do the same in our new home.
This looking after the ground, as we say, John, has not just been down to it is now for the past 26 years or so, but it's been something, as I said a little earlier, handed down from your dad.
Yeah, well, I think my dad started in the late 70s, became a handyman for Steve Fish, who was the groundsman then. Then a few years down the line, my dad took over from Steve, who sadly died. Then a number of players at Brighton started working with my dad. Then I started working later on when I was 18. I started June '84. Then we had Neil Olding, he came on board. We've had Paul Loughlin. We did have Kieran Cunningham for about 6 months. He was starting painting for us, but I think he got more paint on himself than on the doors of turnstiles. It was so funny at times. We've had Phil Beavers, Shane Cooper. We had Stuart Evans as well. That's going back as well. So it's a great pitch really, and all the staff who's worked here, have done the time here and worked hard.
A fantastic place to come to. Wonderful. The memories we've got of this place. I mean, I've just heard it described on the radio now by people who don't know as a Kazi, and I think that's hugely disrespectful, because this is the grand old lady of rugby league, and sadly, it has had better days. It needs to be knocked down, and Saints need a home that they are worthy of. They are the most successful team in Super League, bar none, and they should be playing in a brand spanking new, ultra-modern 21st century stadium, and hopefully they're going to get that.
The fans deserve new stadia. They deserve a little bit of comfort. It's falling apart, we know that, and it'll be a sad farewell in many ways, but you've got to go towards the future. You need a very, very good crowd to survive, to make sure that the finances are there, and if you don't have a new stadium, then you can't get those finances. Yes, I am controversial, and in fact, it's around about 18 years ago, we received at Sky a letter saying that Michael Stevenson, Steve-O, is no longer allowed to come into the stadium and will not be able to broadcast. Simple as that. In effect, they banned me from Knowsley Road. I think it took about 3 minutes with a telephone call to the powers that be at St Helens, where I think, I wasn't privy to what was said, but I think it went on the lines that, that's fine, the TV, we won't turn up, so therefore you'll get no TV money. And it turned out that within 5 minutes, yes, Steve-O is allowed to come back into to Knowsley Road. So I took it with a pinch of salt, It's obviously.
I think it's a historic event, and I think by the end of the match, quite a lot of supporters will have a little tear in their eye, seeing the old ground going and everything that's gone on here at Knowsley Road over the past 120 years. It could be sad to see the old place go, but we've got to move on, onwards and upwards, as we say, and let's hope Saints do it tonight and get to the grand final.
It's going to be an amazing game, and the turnout, obviously, it should be superb.
Yeah.
What a way to send Saints off.
Exciting.
Going to go to the new stadium?
Yes.
Who are you rooting for tonight?
Eastman.
Is he your favourite?
Yeah.
I don't know. My mum and dad used to bring me here when I was about 3. Yeah. Well, when I can.
I've worked on and off at St Helens for just on 30 years now, so it always brings good memories to come back up to the ground and get involved in the games. So the ground hasn't changed much, but obviously the supporters and the times have, yeah. Well, of course, there's an emotional side to tonight's game, with it being the last games we played here at Knowsley Road, and people, as you say, have been coming here for 30, 40, many years more. And so there's a tie to the place. They almost see it as a second home, although I imagine for some it's their first home. So if you're going to move house, it's always an emotional time, and tonight, for a lot of fans, that's how it'll be for Knowsley Road.
It's obviously one game I was not going to miss, last game at Knowsley Road, I had so many good memories here, and so many happy times, so, I wasn't going to stop so much on TV, I was definitely come down and watch it, but, someone said do a bit of radio as well while you're at it, so I might as well, but I'm more here as a spectator, to be fair, and, just to enjoy a great game of rugby, hopefully Saints get the win and we can finish off in style.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the GPW Recruitment Stadium.
Knowsley Road, 120 years and 18 days ago on this very pitch, St Helens beat Manchester Rangers in their first ever game at Knowsley Road. Tonight, you're going to be part of history as we bring the curtain down on this chapter of the club's history. It's the Engage Super League qualifying semi-final, Huddersfield Giants against St Helens! Plenty coming up before kick-off, but what a game we have.
It's going to be a fantastic atmosphere tonight. Last game
Boys
here.
and girls, would you
I
give
don't
it
know
up
what to
for
say about
Boots
it.
and Sid the
An end of an era,
big?
beginning of a new one, 12 months. We're going to do it tonight. We've had a few tears before we left the house tonight. This is the last time we thought us to go to Knowsley Road, all that rubbish. But no, we're here tonight. And we'll be back again next season at the new ground.
Tonight's mascot is young Michael Feeney. What a memory it'll be for him growing up, and for his proud mum too.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. If it wasn't for my brother, he wouldn't be able to do it. Made his day tonight. Most fantastic thing he's ever done. He's really, he won't talk to you, but I will talk to you and he'll say he's absolutely delighted and so excited.
As farewells go, this last ever competitive first-team game at Knowsley Road will live long in people's memories. It's all on time for kick-off as the crowds take up their appointed places, but it looks like the old lady's going to hang on for just a little while longer.
Due to the high volumes of spectators currently outside the stadium, they're attempting to gain access to the GPW recruitment stadium. Kick-off has been put back by 10 minutes to 8:10 p.m. If you're currently outside the stadium, please do not attempt to reach any queues. The kick-off has been delayed by 10 minutes. Thank you.
Good luck, Sid.
There seems to be another short delay as stewards try to establish where exactly to place the sponsor's logo. Bit to the left, bit to the right. Okay, let's just leave it. "13,150 fans filled every corner of the ground, boosted by great support from Huddersfield fans filling the Eddington end, ensuring a cracking atmosphere.
Saints then, in their traditional strip on this emotional night, will attack from right to left. Huddersfield changed blue and white. Foster gets us underway. The last ever 80 minutes at the famous old lady that is called Knowsley Road.
And not surprisingly, the big prop forward, James Graham, first to get the big hit in. It's important for both sides. They tried to take control out there, down the middle. Move! He's putting through!
Could be a try. Could be a try, this, for Bryn Hargreaves.
It is, I think he gets there first. Swansea will get over that advantage line.
Cunningham gets the ball away. Hargreaves! It's a second try for Bryn Hargreaves. Is it Roby? They're in here. It is Sean Lunt. Sean Lunt with the Huddersfield try. Testing Hargreaves. Getting to within about a metre of the line. Brough is there. Will he try and pinch one from dummy half? No, he won't. Fires the pass to Robinson. Here is Lawrence. He's in. Huddersfield are in for their second try.
This is turning out into a real classic.
2 tries in 6 minutes for Saints. Response from Huddersfield. 2 tries in 5. Game on. 28 minutes gone. 12 apiece. All that we expected of this game, all that we expected of the challenge that Huddersfield will throw down at this last match at Knowsley Road for St Helens. Roby gets the ball away, great hands, Wellens! Wellens for St Helens!
Superb.
Just before half-time again, they are the past masters of this.
They've got to go for the kick, there's only seconds remaining.
It's with Brown. Back it comes to Brough. He weighs up the options. Gets the kick in wide to Lawrence again. Down the line from Lawrence. Oh, what a try! What a try from Michael Lawrence!
Sensational!
Half-time, the Giants have come back from 12-0 down to only 2 points behind. Saints 18, Huddersfield 16.
We're sweating cobs. Put it bluntly. You're not recording, Daddy. Yeah, we are. We're struggling, but I mean, I don't like saying it. With some bad decisions going against us with the referee.
Supporters Club secretary Jerry Moore might have been sweating in the first half, but by the end of the second, it was Huddersfield Giants who would be feeling the heat.
Here's Cunningham. Here's Cunningham again. Finds Matty Smith. Now it's Dixon. Now, chance here. He's done it again. Kieran Cunningham. Kieran Cunningham. Well, he thinks he has. The crowd thinks he has. But Phil Bentham just wants to check by handing it upstairs to Ian Smith. But has Kieran Cunningham written yet another line in a remarkable career history?
No doubt. No doubt in anybody's mind. And you can see the frustration on Sean Lunt's face, because Kieran Cunningham knows perfectly well he has done it again.
The popular stand, packed to the rafters, burst into full voice, singing the timeless classic When the Saints Go Marching In, just before the countdown. What a night it's been for Saints and their fans. If the club can reproduce the atmosphere of this old ground at the new stadium, they'll be onto a winner. But it will be a hard act to follow. For Saints coach of 2 seasons, Mick Potter, it's not only his last game at Knowsley Road. After the grand final, he'll be leaving for pastures new as he heads to Bradford Bulls.
Yeah, it was real good, right? Yeah, real good. It was tense for a long time, wasn't it? Really tough match, and I thought the Blakes to stick with it. And again, I thought our stamina was real good in that second half. And, it's good. It's a good feeling.
Long after the final hooter, fans remained, families and friends, in quiet reflection. Some just wanting to cling on to every last drop.
Very sad occasion. Love the place. 40 odd years. Don't know what to say. I thought I'd be crying tonight at the end of it, but I don't know what to feel. Numb. Very sad.
Don't want to go home.
Certainly is.
I know we've got to, but...
A lot of years spent here.
Yeah. My dad and my mum and... Just a long time. Everything. It's just memories of mums and dads and...
It's families, isn't it?
Families, yeah.
Even if there are holes in the roof, Knowsley Road has a real sense of magic. Even though it's tired and old, it has an atmosphere all of its own. Saints might be on the move to pastures new, but Knowsley Road bosses want fans to be able to say farewell in style. An 800-seater marquee has been erected on the pitch to host a 3-day farewell festival. The festival kicked off on Friday the 15th of October with a black tie dinner, the highlight of which was to unveil their greatest ever 17 players. Legends Tom van Vollenhoven, Cliff Watson and Dick Huddart are amongst those being honoured.
A gathering such as we have tonight
and the greatest 17 players ever to play in a St Helens shirt, and you're one of them.
Great honour. Great honour. I mean, I had Stock Trophy and all that, but this is mine. This one tonight. Because I love my town in St Helens. I love the people, and you know you are going. You can't do a thing wrong. And it's a magic moment, and you've got to grab it.
Yeah, good to catch up with some old teammates.
It is actually. I was very pleased that, I got picked in the 17, completely out of the blue, and nice to be picked with players of before me and after me, which is good, and to see all my old friends in the old football, the Barras, Frankie Barra. I haven't seen Tommy's yet, and I've seen Dick and a few of the others, Eric Chisnell, but mate, it's good to be here, under these circumstances. Great.
In this greatest ever 17, Tom, of all the accolades you're quite rightly won, the medals, the trophies, etc., what does it mean to you to be in this greatest ever St Helens 17?
Well, I have no words for that. It's so great. I didn't really think it could be possible. If you talk about people like Alf Ellaby and people before him, and I said to my friend, I said to I think it's in the rugby league. I said, Les Jones played over 500 games for St Helens. Frankie Carlton. You can name them. You can go on naming them all night. But it's an honour, and I'm very, very proud to be here, and very proud to be in the 17.
There are many distinguished guests here tonight, including past players, officials, dignitaries, and those here to enjoy this momentous occasion.
Nice big smile, if you will.
An amazing night, lots and lots of past players. Who knows, there could be future players here one day, but an amazing night for St Helens Rugby League. Just shows you that we're the top of the world, despite what we're going to say.
Well, I think we're on the spot, exactly where the pass went out to Chris Joint from wide to west. An absolutely fantastic evening, this.
Tonight is an occasion that I don't think I've ever seen the like at Knowsley Road, to honour the 17 greats of this club over the years. It's an absolutely fantastic concept, a marquee on the very pitch where these players have done the business, so to speak, over the years. Some fantastic names: Dick Huddart, Tom Van Vollenhoven, Cliff Watson, Paul Wellens we were just talking to. A whole sort of different mix of eras, right from the late 20s through to modern-day Super League.
TV journalist and presenter Gordon Burns took charge of proceedings.
Thank you very much indeed for that lovely welcome, and welcome to you all here this evening as well. I'm your compere for the rest of the evening, and I just want to say right at the start what a great thrill and honour it is to be here on this very special night, as I am, as many of you know, a great St Helens fan, so it's an absolute joy for me to be here amongst you tonight.
After dinner there were auctions and raffles, interspersed with presentations to the greatest 17. There was a frenzy of flashes as almost every guest jockeyed for position to get the best photos, as Bernard Platt lined up the greatest team ever for the official photograph. What a tribute to the old lady that she should go out with an explosion of noise and colour. Fans gathered in the cold to enjoy the fireworks, culminating in the words, "Farewell Knowsley Road, ablaze with colour." Also only fitting that there should be a memorial service to give thanks and remember those whose ashes had been scattered at the hallowed ground. There were prayers of thanks for the past and hopes for the future. A token of turf was presented to the Reverend Paul Day, to be held at the local parish church of St Luke's on Knowsley Road.
There's
a degree of sadness, there'll be a degree of sadness at the end of the year, but people look forward in life.
We've got to move on, got to get a new stadium, haven't we? Can't go on living here forever.
But 3 generations of our family have come to watch rugby here.
Knowsley Road! Knowsley Road!
You know, to great it one last time is, you know, it's special to me, and I'm certainly special to all the great fans who supported all eras throughout the years.
Knowsley Road! Knowsley Road! Knowsley Road! 50 seconds and counting,
Fantastic, yeah, and it couldn't have been a more fitting end, could it? I mean, we thought it was the end three weeks ago with Kieran scoring that wonderful try, but he's done it again, last one tonight. And how can you beat that? You can't write the scripts like that.
Northwest Video, producers of history, nostalgia and special interest programs for a quarter of a century.